Judd's Hockey Show. You have vented. You have ranted. This team has 2 wins basically in the last month since Valentine's Day. I had to go back to February 12th to find the last time they didn't give up at least 3 goals in a game. And even though you have ranted and vented and cut open veins, it has not been enough. Declan has more to get off his chest here.
Now on Mackey and Judd.
This chart makes it as clear as I can to you.
The pie chart of blame.
You want to blame somebody?
The Rock knows how you feel about pie.
It is your pie chart of blame for the Minnesota Wild slumping and struggling and falling down the Western Conference standings.
It's been a long time since I had to fire up the oven for this pie chart. Well, we've gone about now 2 months since the last time we probably did a pie chart on this show. Had to get the ingredients, had to go to the grocery store, and I was, hate shopping. Those hate shopping trips are the worst trips. You go into the grocery store, I need all this stuff. Where's the goaltending? Where's all the power play? Where's the penalty kill fix? Lot of hatred into this pie chart of blame with the Wild and the Skid. So, as a gentleman I am, I'll start from the bottom and I'll work my way up with this pie chart here. I'm going to start with 10% of the blame. 10% of the blame, just on the special teams. And Judd might even say it should be higher, and some fans might even say it should be higher. The penalty kill for the Wild has been atrocious since February 1st. Their penalty kill is only killing 64% of opponents' power plays, which is pretty abysmal. Now, the age-old saying is your best penalty killer is your goaltender. So goaltending has a little bit to do with that. But at the same time, you need to kill off more penalties. Yes, they have the man advantage, but 64%, only the Detroit Red Wings have a worse penalty kill percentage since February 1st. So opponents are just feasting anytime they get on the power play. A 1 in 3 chance they're going to score, even higher than that. So it's been pretty bad for the Wild special teams. So 10% of the blame just on the special teams for this skid. 15% of the blame for the lack of size and physicality. The Wild have been being pushed around by other teams lately, and they were without Matt Dumba. Marcus Foligno is their heart and soul, right, and isn't afraid to drop the gloves at any moment. But it just seems like, and Judd and I talked about this a lot over the last month or so, they are getting bullied by other teams. And there seems to be this blueprint out over this last 6 weeks on how to beat the Wild, and it's to slow them down and bog them down with size and physicality. And the Wild they aren't a big team. They really aren't. Yeah, Foligno can throw haymakers, and Dumba can throw a nice check here and there, but they don't really have that size and physicality that makes them stand out against a team like the Blues. They don't have the also size to potentially slow down a top line like Colorado. They do. That's probably even before this skid happened. I think that was the one area even before this losing streak happened that said, you know what, could they get one more big body in here just to have a presence, to try to slow them down? It wasn't high on the priority list at the time because you were winning games. But now I think that has come up and kind of bit the Wild in the behind a little bit. So I would say size is also 15% of the blame. So 25% of this pie chart is already done. 2 more pieces of pie. 25% of the blame. Regression to non-star players. So Fiala and Kaprizov, let's go back in time a little bit to the first dozen games of the season when both your 2 best offensive players were struggling, right? At the time, Fiala and Kaprizov weren't getting the goals. But you got goals from guys like Ryan Hartman. You got goals from Marcus Foligno. Well, over the last basically 6 weeks of play, Ryan Hartman has basically been a disaster. -5 on the ice in the last 14 games, just 4 points. Marcus Foligno, who was somehow trying to buck the trend of shooting percentage doesn't matter, but this dude has now finally come down to earth hard. In the last 12 games for Marcus Foligno, just 1 goal and no assists. He's come down to earth very, very hard. Joel Eriksson Ek, your greasy center, who isn't afraid to get into areas, right? Get in front of the goaltender and take a nice
showers once every week.
Yeah, Mr. September, because his conditioning is so perfect during training camp, right? The last 14 games for Ek, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points. Fiala, Kaprizov, Zuccarello have all been able to figure out ways to score goals and still maintain their offense, right? But when it comes playoff time, your top players sometimes go away. They get shut down. That's what happened to Kaprizov in the Vegas Golden Knights series last year. Kaprizov got shut down, and could the Wild have enough firepower to beat Vegas? The answer was no. And now those secondary players like Hartman, Foligno, and Ek have basically fallen off a cliff, and you haven't been able to get any offense from them. So 25% of my blame right there on those non-core players. And then the biggest chunk of pie here. I'm just going to go right to it. Goaltending. Your goaltending is abysmal right now. 5 goals allowed basically by either goaltender in Talbot or Kaapo Kakkonen. And analytically, the Wild's offense continues to be one of the most impressive in the league in terms of scoring goals above expected. Meaning that their offense they're not just scoring lucky goals, they're scoring goals in areas that they should be able to be scoring goals in. Their finishing rate, their high danger rate is still at the top of the league. Their defensemen are putting their goaltenders in good position to not allow soft goals, but the goaltender is allowing soft goals. I would love for the Wild to get a center, right? I would love Claude Giroux, even Thomas Hertl, who's more of a pipe dream and a better player. That'd be great. It'd make your offense better. But in the NHL, there's one thing that can bail you out when your offense isn't working, when your secondary scoring isn't working, when your power play and penalty kills stink. It's a good goaltender. It's this elixir that can sometimes still rise up and make up for all those other deficiencies. And goaltending is random, and it's very, very volatile in the NHL. There's 2-3 really elite goaltenders, and then the drop-off really hits a cliff there. But with Kaapo Kähkönen and Cam Talbot, you cannot rely on them right now. You absolutely cannot rely on them. So could you get the Flower? Could you get Marc-Andre Fleury? Maybe, potentially, if he also wants to waive that clause. But the goaltending, in my opinion, has been the biggest culprit in this entire thing. So 50% of my blame on the goaltending. So to recap, 10% to special teams, 15% to size, 25% to the aggression of non-star players, and then 50% on goaltending. Eat up that piece
The
of pie.
Rock knows how you feel about pie.
Wow. Yeah, by the way, the Wild remain one of only 2 teams in the NHL here. In the Western Conference with over 200 goals scored this season. Only Colorado in the Western Conference has scored more goals. But among the 8 teams in the Central Division, they've allowed the 3rd most goals. They've allowed 20 more goals than Colorado, which it's basically a half goal a game. And they've allowed 30 more goals than the Blues, which is that's like 3/4 of a goal per game.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, you got to go back to February 12th, the last time they didn't allow at least 3 goals in a game.
Well, and their defense is playing poorly, too. Goligoski has regressed immensely. John Merrill, who is great and got a contract extension, is now turned in his glass slipper. He's gone back to being himself again. And the goaltending's been bad. But you got
what's the DEFCON level?
You got it.
Oh, we're scrambling.
One is the worst, right? Like one is like the top level of DEFCON.
Oh, right now we're at
Texas got the bat phone.
we're at right now 2.5. 2.
Okay, could they real quick? Sorry, so they are currently so Dallas has caught
They could miss the
them.
playoffs. Yes, they can miss the playoffs.
That was what I was. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's likely, but.
Look at the standings.
We've gone
Nashville
from
is in the
cup
second
discussion 2
wild
weeks
card
ago.
to 1 point behind them and Dallas. And
Who's
the
behind
Oilers
Nashville then?
Are
Edmonton?
right behind them.
Winnipeg.
In terms of wild card.
Edmonton.
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 Yes.
Edmonton's right
64 points.
behind Nashville. But everyone is grouped
So they're
up
3
now.
points. They're 3 points from being out of the playoffs right now.
Yes,
Just to be
and the
clear.
games in hand are basically have dried up. So it's not like, well, we played 5 less games. Don't worry about it now. Now it's closer. And here's my thing too. I am giving a chunk of pie at least to the head coach, who I praised when he did a great job. But Dean Evison, when you're stepping to the post-game podium, and I ranted about this on JHS, and basically, so Mike Russo of The Athletic says to Dean, your team just seems so fragile right now. Fragile. Like, this is pro sports. These are grown men playing hockey. And Dean's like, yeah, we are. That's the biggest problem. You know what? We played a great first period. First of all, the game is more the last time I checked than 1 period of hockey. But, yeah, we're fragile right now. What the hell does that mean? That was the entire reason I was excited about this team was they weren't the old Wild. They had gotten rid of Parisi, and they got rid of Suter, and they got rid of Granlund and Zucker, and Koivu's gone. And the whole thing is you're fragile. And how long can you be fragile for? I told Dex this. If you have a few bad games, right, and you're sort of like mind bleeped for a couple, you know what? It's a long year. Totally get that. If that goes on for a week, I'm a little concerned, but I'm not. But this is 10 games now, and this is the second bad stretch, and you're fragile. Like, that's your biggest thing. We're just so fragile right now, so we're going to work on that. How the hell do you work on being fragile?
What does that even... How to
what does it
avoid
mean?
being fragile? What does it mean? Like, I feel like this has been Judd knows this for years. my biggest gripe with
I don't
hockey
disagree with
and the
this.
analysis of hockey is
Yes.
when something's not going right, we always resort to like these nebulous, unexplainable things like, oh, they just need
Right.
to be grittier, or they're
Right.
just a little
Well,
bit mentally weak and
yes.
fragile. Like, okay, what? So if you put a better goalie in net, let's say you swapped out these two clowns. By the way, these should be. You know what? I was going to do something else. I'm going to blend this in.
Oh, wow.
It's time for the buffoon of the week here on
That's a
Mackie and
goalie
Judd.
mask. That's not toilet paper. It's a goalie mask.
It's time for.
No,
it is
that's
time for the
Talbot.
buffoon of the
That's
week.
Talbot,
And
dude.
I was going to go in a different direction, but now that we're down this path,
All right.
the buffoon of the week is really the buffoons of the week, and it's Kakkonen and Talbot. Guys, okay? It's not that the team isn't mentally weak. The team isn't fragile. The team doesn't need to get grittier, and maybe they do need to do some of these things. How about the team doesn't need to give up 6 goals every freaking night, okay? How about not giving up 4 goals? How about once in a while? How about like once a week you give up a goal and you win a 3-1 hockey game? Maybe, just maybe, you can win like a 2-0 hockey game sometime, okay? It's not asking that much to not give up 4 goals in a game. So the buffoons of the week are the two guys who are
Well,
struggling
bravo,
to
well
maintain
earned,
a
guys.
large presence.
Well
in the net.
earned.
That's right.
The other thing, too, about this sport, and I love it, but it drives me nuts, is this. There's a difference between a coach being weak and melting down, and at some point in time, applying the pressure where it belongs, right? So instead of saying, yeah, Mike, you're right, we are just fragile right now. We're mentally fragile. Dean, it's okay to say we need far more in goal. Like, that's fine.
Why is
That's
he not saying that?
Everybody knows because he's trying to soft pedal because the team, he's trying to like keep the peace in his mind. But the reality is, Phil, what you're saying is exactly right. And it is okay to say our goaltending tonight was a major disappointment because that's accurate. And the problem is it's now game after game after game. And I feel like it's selling the rest of the team short because they are scoring goals. And they're not playing great. But you know what helps? I'm going to tell you what helps. It's when the scoreboard it has a 1 and a 20 and the game's about to start and you're about to drop the damn puck. And you look in goal and you think, this guy gives us a chance tonight. Do you know what makes you, quote, fragile? Oh, no, what's going to happen? What makes you fragile is when you look at the buffoon of the week in goal and you're like, this guy's a sieve. He's going to sieve. I mean, the 4th goal on Capo yesterday, which was an absolutely crucial goal. The 4th goal was a terrible goal. It was a shot that Jason Robertson of the Stars, I think, was trying just to put on net for like a rebound or something. It went through Capo. It cost them dearly. That's why they lost the game.
Okay, can I throw another theory out here just for fun?
Love
And this is going to sound like excuse making here, so hammer me if you must. But their schedule has been now everyone's schedule is weird because everyone's playing so many games. But they had like a 6-week stretch going back to the second to last week in January. They've really only played like 4 home games in the last 6 weeks, and they get this stretch starting March 13th.
9.
Yeah, it's 9 consecutive home games.
Number 9.
So, I mean, it'll be nice to sleep in your bed and not have to travel. I mean, they're East Coast, West Coast. They do get a home game. Well, they obviously played Dallas at home yesterday. This New York game, you want to talk about teams grinding you down? New York
boy,
is the
yeah.
biggest. New York is the biggest grinding.
I don't know if Judd wants to go to a funeral on Tuesday, but he might be attending one at the XL Energy
Shesterkin
Center.
in goal. Oh,
Yeah.
I got to
He might
see
win
this
the
guy.
Hart.
He's good.
You might win the Hart.
Yeah, Igor Shesterkin's good.
But like 9 home games in March should be nice
Yeah. Hey, you know what?
to get back on track.
Fire up the BSN because I didn't realize my guy came back from New York and he now works for Bally Sports North.
No,
Congratulations.
It's true. No, it's
Coming up next. Coming up next. Sleeping in your own bed. Wes Walls tells us how it makes a big
it
difference.
does, especially
Ryan
with
Carter.
Select Comfort. Right?
Casper mattress.
My God.
I'm just saying,
You know
it'll
what?
be
These
helpful
guys
to
can
have
sleep
9
on the
straight
damn
home
floor.
games.
Sleep on the damn floor. You know what? You get out of that select number bed, you buffoons of the week, and you're going to sleep in a sleeping bag on the floor until you
A
win a damn
sleep
hockey.
number, yeah, so-
mentally weak.
See, speaking
Soft.
of mentally weak. All right, you want to know what the opposite of mentally weak is? People that ride motorcycles. I think of those people as being very tough people, right?
They wear leather. They're tough.
They are, yes. So Dennis Kirk has been a longtime partner of ours from the start here on Score North and going back to the Mackey and Judd radio days too. And if you are a motorcycle guy, they have got what you need: parts, accessories, apparel. We would love it if you guys gave them a look for whatever your needs are. Free shipping on orders over $89, free returns on helmets and apparel, and over 160,000 parts and accessories in stock. DennisKirk.com. DennisKirk.com. Yeah.
You know who probably wears some leather? Actually, he was wearing leather last night. My guy Adam Page retaining his AEW World Championship, the Anxious Millennial Cowboy. He loves him some leather, some chaps.
Oh, that's
he comes
where we
out
get
in
the
the
shirt
chaps.
Did he
Yeah,
ride a
I'm rocking
horse
my
to the
shirt.
ring last night?
No horse, and no horse vignette either. The promo story time when AEW was here in November for their pay-per-view when Adam Page won the World Championship, Judd. They did this great promo where they shut down.
You told me about this.
First Avenue.
That's awesome.
And they had to do it like at 3 or 4 in the morning because it was like pitch black dark. And Adam Page is just riding a horse. That it's like the only time I've been okay with a horse, and I was like, oh, that is.
Dude, can
that's
you
badass.
imagine
I
just
love
like
that.
stumbling out of the loon and seeing
It's my biggest fear. I've had nightmares about that.
Hangman Adam Page on a horse, just
Yeah.
trotting,
And the
down
horse
First
just
Avenue.
charges at Declan,
Yeah.
bowls him over, runs over him, steps on him, breaks a couple ribs.
Especially after like too many grape apes at the loon. Yeah, that's like my biggest fear happening and all in
That's
one.
why you got to stick to my beer Surly and feel good.
Yeah. Do you guys want to know where I was going to go with the buffoon of the week?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Curious at all?
It's a
gonna be
bonus buffoon.
It's a bonus buffoon. It was going to be a preemptive strike because I noticed last week when I was out in New York, you guys were doing the show, that the Vikings, we thought that they were done with nepotism, right? We thought, oh, Adam Zimmer's gone, and
No.
who else? I don't know. There's been all sorts of
Andre
examples.
Patterson's
Scott
kid was
Turner
working
back
for
in
the
day,
team.
yeah.
Yeah.
And my buffoon of the week preemptively was going to be Steve Donatel, who was hired. I think this is his first ever NFL gig, right? He was at Stanford as an
Like
assistant
Steve
coach.
Belichick. What are you talking about?
So
Mullet?
not that he's a buffoon yet, but that at some point we were going to be unhappy that maybe the defense isn't playing well, and we figure that it's got to be because Steve Donatel isn't qualified to be an assistant. Why are you not hiring qualified assistants? So, but lucky for him, he is not an official buffoon of the week because we pivoted to Cam Talbot and Capo Kakinen.
O'Connell's kid is 7, 8, right? His son.
I think he could be a ball boy.
I was going to say, it's not
throw him
going
out
to be
there.
long. It's not going to be long. He loves football. I'm going to tell. I guarantee you. In fact, write this down. In 6 years, he'll have some type of job with the team.
Is this on the record? Are we putting this on the record?
Well, but we don't know if O'Connell's going to be here in 6 years. I hope for his sake he is. But I think the kid
Write
will
it
have
down.
some
You
type
like
of
writing
job.
things down?
So don't you worry. Nepotism's coming back. In sports, it's all over the place. You know that.
Yeah. Hey, shout out also to our friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company. I don't know if they're into nepotism or not. I'm sure there's probably some kids of executives working at Federated. I'm not really sure.
You into nepotism.
But they're great at ensuring and helping businesses maximize their potential. You can find out more about all the different tools and resources Federated provides at federatedinsurance.com. You can find your marketing rep by going to federatedinsurance.com. You can just type in your zip code location, and you'll get a face-to-face relationship with someone to help protect and maximize your business. Federated, where it's our business to protect yours.
They're not fragile, is what you're telling us.
They are not fragile.
They are not fragile. They'll protect what is fragile, but they're not. And Wild, that's how you're supposed to be. You're supposed to protect your ice. This is your ice, remember?
I can't believe they are. The conversation is now, can they hold off?
Dude, look at the
Can they
standings.
hold off
I mean,
the Oilers in the wild? Can they hold off the Ducks in the wild card race? The Canucks. Well, we'll see what happens.
I'm worried
But
about the
it'll
Predators.
be nice to sleep in your own bed, go grocery shopping, come home. See
That'd be
the
nice.
kids.
Yeah. Thanks, Phil. Phil the
A
Panther.
family game.
If you want Russell Wilson speculation, then Purple Daily is the place for you today. So check that out. Mackie and Jeb. See you guys tomorrow.